What's up, shooters? So today we are talking about California gun laws versus Texas gun laws. We're not going to cover everything, obviously. I'm not a legal advisor. I'm not giving you advice on what to do if you do end up going to California and you are from Texas. That's not what this video is about. I recently took a trip to California and I want to touch on some of the gun laws that I thought were weird, awkward, whatever, fascinating, whatever the case may be. So the first thing I want to jump into, and probably the weirdest one, is AR laws. So this is an AR-15 chambered in 5.56, right? In California, it is illegal to have more than a 10 round mag. Most people really know that, but if you don't, here you are. So 10 round capacity is all you get in California, and that's with all firearms. The next thing is this guy right here, this guy right here, this one, this one. All of these things are illegal in California on an AR-15 if you can do that right there. The only way to have a detachable magazine in California is to not have these features. It's called a featureless AR. Basically, what that means is you are not allowed to have a pistol grip. Uh, if you look, I'll roll some footage, but if you look closely at the ARs on the wall here, the pistol or seemingly pistol grip has a fin on the back of it, kind of like a shark fin just sticking off the back. That is so you cannot wrap your hand around the grip. You have to kind of shoot like this. You'll notice that it does not have a foregrip. The stock is hard to tell in the video, but there's a lock on that stock, right? So I can't slide it back and forth like this. The other thing you'll also notice is the muzzle. It does not have a muzzle device at all. So if you want to be able to pull your magazine out just like that without doing anything extra, you cannot have any of those features. Now, let's say you want all of those features. What you have to do is you have to get a device called a maglock. So what happens is you have your 10 round mag in here. That magazine is fixed. Like I said, that's if you want the foregrip. That's if you want the muzzle device, the pistol grip, the adjustable stock. You have to have a 10 round magazine fixed to the gun. When you have a maglock, what you have to do is you have to release this pin, pop the receiver up, release your magazine, load the new one in, push your pin back in, now you are ready to shoot. What a pain in the ass. Just for y'all's peace of mind, this gun is unloaded. There is nothing in it. There's no bullets in the magazine. So I found the AR laws very interesting. There are some stuff, I looked it up while I was out there just because it really kind of caught my curiosity. If there were kind of not necessarily workarounds to the law, but just ways to make it a little bit easier on you. And there are. There's a company out there. I forget the name of them. They have like a spring-loaded pin back here. Instead of having a pin you have to push through, it's a spring-loaded pin. So you pull down on that pin, it releases the top. You release the magazine, put your mag back in, grab it up here, click it into place, and you're good to go. And to be honest, it seems like that's what most people are buying over there. From the few people I talked to in the gun shop, that's what seems to be the most popular. Another thing that was odd was the 10-day waiting period. So when you buy a gun out there, you have to wait 10 days until you receive the gun. It's part of the background check process. To own that gun, you have to have a safety firearms training, a written test that you have to get at least a 75 or above on. If you want to carry, you have to have a license. You have to be a resident of California, which is a pretty normal law. And then you can go buy your gun. Then you have to wait 10 days before you get it. There's no buying a gun at a gun range and shooting it that day. There's nothing like that. The other thing about buying a gun is you can't buy more than two, or excuse me, more than one in 1 month, 30 days. So if you buy a gun, you have to wait 30 days before you can buy another gun. So I found that pretty interesting. Probably the last thing I'd say is private sales are a little confusing. So private sales are not really private in California. In Texas, I can go to someone, they can pay cash for the gun, and we're good to go. I don't have to do anything else. Um, there's ways to run background checks. You can go to a store, you have that option. But in California, to do a private sell, you have to do what's called a PPL.
It's actually called a PPT, stands for private party transfer.
So if I were going to sell my gun to a friend, we'd have to go to the gun store. 10-day waiting period still applies. They have you purchase the gun through them, and of course there's a fee. I believe it was $30 if I remember looking that up. You go through them, kind of like if you were in Texas and you were to buy a gun from, like, let's say Palmetto State, for example. Online, you have to get it transferred to an FFL. It's kind of the same thing, except it's person to person, not manufacturer to person. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The really interesting part about that law is a grandfather can pass it down to his son, and that dad can pass it down to his son. The other interesting thing about that law, because I was like, well, how does that work if a family member gives you a gun? Because that's very common, especially in Texas. Your grandpa's got an old gun, you really want it because it's been in the family for a lot. He may have used it back in the day for whatever it may be, and that gun gets passed down generation after generation after generation. While that is okay, what is not okay is if I were going to sell a gun to my brother. They do not consider brother, sister, immediate family, which I thought was pretty wild. You still have to go to the store, do the transfer, pay the money to get that done, do the 10-day waiting period. I thought that was pretty wild. As far as California goes, my trip to California, it was pretty, it was kind of weird for me because I've noticed that this trip, Southern hospitality is a thing, and I didn't realize that. A lot of people don't say excuse me, open the door, whatever the case may be. So it was a little bit of a trip for me because I try to, be as polite as I can. You open the door, say yes, ma'am, yes, sir, whatever. That doesn't really happen out there. There's a lot of people moving real fast. As far as the sights in California, California was beautiful. It would be awesome to be able to live there with all the freedoms that I have in Texas, and that's why they're all moving here. I really wish that we could just swap, just take our government, take everything in Texas, and just move to California. Take all of our freedoms and move to California. You got beaches, mountains, hiking, rural hunting, whatever you want to do out there, they got it. It's a beautiful place, beautiful weather, and I had a great time. I went over to Santa Monica, I went to Malibu, I stayed in Manhattan Beach. Um, Pretty nice areas. I didn't get to the rough spots. That is the negative of California because you take a wrong turn, you can end up in a pretty weird area with a lot of crime, a lot of homelessness, stuff like that. It was pretty sad to see, to be honest. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit of a quick one, but I just kind of wanted to run over, you know, what was weird to me growing up in Texas and owning guns and owning firearms. What was different over there, and I kind of wanted to share that experience with y'all. So at the end of this video, I'm going to put some pictures I took from Malibu, stuff like that, from Santa Monica Pier. Uh, so please stick around and enjoy that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me how bad I suck. I really enjoy that. I try to post every Sunday. I missed last week because of the trip. That's kind of what I noticed in California. Just some of the laws were a little, it's pretty strict. As to where in Texas you have an AR-15, there's no restrictions. You can put whatever you want on it, however big of a mag, whatever you want, doesn't matter. But California, that's not the case. So I just found it interesting. Hopefully y'all did too. And we will see y'all next Sunday. Make sure you watch my shorts during the week. We just recently hit 10K on the last short, and I am growing, growing, growing. We're on the way to 100 subscribers, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks.